Welcome to everybody. Katherine Hughes-Fraitekh is the director of Solidarity 2020 and Beyond. She then worked at the International Center for Nonviolent Conflict and has been a long-time activist, particularly on Palestinian issues going back about 150 years. To introduce Solidarity 2020 and Beyond, which is a new partner, so that all of our interns can know about you. But also, we'd like you to share a little bit about your journey.
Thank you so much, Michael and David. We really appreciate this chance to be able to talk to this amazing group of young people. You guys are the up-and-comers for the future. Our generation and that ahead of us has not done so well with the planet, with many issues. We've been some of the ones that have really tried to make a difference and tried to work for change. Obviously, we haven't done that yet and haven't been successful. So I want to apologize really to the new generation and to you all to begin with. To say a little bit about Solidarity 2020 and Beyond, I'm a co-founder. We started over a year ago. It was around the COVID-19 crisis. I was a Peace Fellow, Rotary Peace Fellow in Thailand doing a mid-career program. And I started getting a lot of communications, discussions among tens of activists that I'd worked with all over the world over the last 30 years with social justice and social change movements saying, we really need help right now. We really need solidarity. We're struggling. We not only have all of our social justice movements issues like self-determination, democratization, women's rights, tribal rights, racial justice issues, environmental rights. Now we have this whole pandemic on top of us. And, it's affecting everything we do. Some of us are starving now. People are dying. We don't know what's going to happen. And they're using it against us to repress us even more. So based on that, we had a number of meetings and focus groups and decided that based on their requests, we would form this network of people from around the world. We've got over 150 grassroots movement leaders that are involved now, about 70 or so movements around the world, and this great group of organizing committee members, we call them, which is our board, and Stellan is on that. And we have representation from journalists, from people that are, we call scholar activists, and we're working on a number of different initiatives, participatory research on what they're doing and how to change that and move it to others, what's working, what's not, documenting what they're trying and what they're doing in the field. They all are using nonviolent resistance tactics, methods, strategies, and have been trained in the field. So these are pretty seasoned activists, some of them over decades. We are working on trying to amplify their voices through webinars where their voices are heard on their issues, through a lot of social media platforms and action there, and trying to take what they're doing and get it out to the world and then help them build their training capacities. Because as I assume you're hearing from Nonviolence International, who we're so happy to have as our fiscal sponsor and partner, training is really key. And we've had a number of studies that have come out recently to show that having the tactics, the skills, the knowledge about all of these issues gives you a huge leg up as you're waging these social justice movements. So we're providing the tools and the knowledge, and they take it in their own space and their own decision-making, cost-benefit analysis, their own unique situations, and then move forward. And we found that convening and getting groups together across the continents is also really useful to them. They feel really alone sometimes, or more and more, they're really developing and connecting within their own region, like East Africa, South Asia, whatever it is. But they find a lot of value in connecting across those movements, including to many in the US, to be able to exchange solidarity, emotional support, and also strategy and tactics to try to be more effective. So that's what we do. Very quickly, also Michael asked me to talk a little bit about my own path. What I would say was from the earliest I can remember, I had this sense of power relationships, of unfair kind of power over another. I used to be the one that would go in the middle of the street and sit down in front of a dog that had been hit so cars wouldn't hit him until someone got there. There's a lot of stories. I think a lot of us on this call, a lot of you might have that same sense of having this idea of justice, fairness, dignity, and probably have had that as a part of you for a long time, if not at your core. And two of my most important kind of people ideologically that I followed is Paulo Freyri. And I don't know, could you all raise your hands or put in the chat if you know who that is? He's a well-known educator from Latin America and wrote a lot about how much education is used by the dominant power to repress people kind of coming up and having their own ideas and their own empowerment, but also how we as in a privileged country or with white privilege or global north privilege can act as a bridge so that people in the grassroots know what they need, have their own ideas and decisions and power, but we can sometimes help bridge this role to other groups like the UN, United Nations, the US government, whatever, the power brokers out there to help create change. The other person is Joseph Campbell. Have any of you heard of him? You can raise your hands. So a few of you, I would say definitely try to find out about him. He talks about the hero's journey, and he talks about finding your calling for your life. And once you've done that, once you recognize it, then kind of everything starts falling in place as long as you keep following it, and as long as you listen and stay on your path. And so what I would say was, again, I think I knew that from a very young age, that I was supposed to be involved in social justice issues. I've worked with human rights. I've worked with, again, issues in the US as well as internationally. And again, I see that I have learned so much more than I have ever brought or taught. I have a huge now kind of history and knowledge and amazement and honor for these social justice workers across the world, many of them who I know very closely, who have been tortured, who have been imprisoned, whose families have been displaced, and who keep trying and keep pushing and keep working for change for their communities, no matter what. And so I would say that's what's kept me going all these years, knowing that I had a part to play in solidarity and to try to support them. But I've worked in a number of different fields, and I would just say that it is possible to have your career be your life's work. They can be one and the same. I know for me, I never stop working. I'm getting calls and contacts all night long, all day long, on the weekends from these social justice people as things come up or as they need support or solidarity. But I love that and I honor that. And I feel like together is the only way that we're going to really change the world with so many existential issues. We can't do it in one continent or one movement. We have to really work together. So I would tell you that the way that's happened is just being willing to be flexible, being willing to listen to your heart and your energy, being willing to take what's of value to you and the work that you feel connected to in a moral sense or a justice sense versus money and prestige. Sometimes you can get both. Many times you have to choose one or the other. But as I've looked back on my life, and I mentioned to some people earlier, my dad, who has been my mentor over all these years, is dying right now in hospice. He probably won't make it through the week. And I've had the honor to be with him, to help him through that process. And he was the one that taught me, always be with the oppressed, always see everyone as equal in the world, every human being. Take care, be polite, be caring, compassionate to everyone. And he's just, and don't give up and keep struggling for what's right, what you believe is right. And so I would just say that it is possible. There have been many times I was recruited by the CIA, by the State Department, by so many groups over the years that when I thought about it, for me, not for everyone, I couldn't take that path. I felt like I needed to be someone kind of from the outside pushing in and pressuring from in, and the whole advocacy and human rights. But there's a lot of ways to work together. Everyone has their own path. And I would just say that as you move forward, find a way to stay with your calling, find a way to become aware of it if you're not yet. And then as you move through, it is possible to stick with it, to stay with it. By the time we get to the end of our lives, to really feel fulfilled and happy, and there are no regrets. You've done what you could, you've shared, you've given, you've loved. And I think that's all we can really do in the end. So thank you.